Hi everyone. A little bit different today whenever we're doing this program for my dog and me for Armstrong, but we are today on a little one of our field trips and we are at the Anna Shelter in Erie. So I'm going to introduce to you Ruth, who's in charge of the Anna Shelter, and she's going to introduce some other people. But I'm going to start first with a person with me. With me is Kim, and Kim does what?
I'm an author, actually, and I have a podcast called Let Fear Bounce. And so I've been chatting with dog owners and getting books out there with dog owners sharing their stories of how their pets enrich their lives, especially rescue pets that enrich their lives.
And what's the first one we did? And we did a program, so possibly you saw the program I did with Kim on shelters, and the name of the book is?
The name of the book is Paw Prints on the Couch. And there's another one coming out this fall, folks, called Paw Prints on the Kitchen Floor. So keep your eyes out for that.
Okay, so I asked her to join me because Kim was the reason I really got involved in this shelter deal. Not that I don't believe in shelter dogs, but I have done some pedigree dogs, and Kim was adamant that I needed to really do something about the shelter dogs. So she twisted my arm and beat me up a little bit, and I said, okay, fine, let's do it. So the first two programs, which many of you have probably watched, has been on shelter dogs. So if we move over now to my left, this is Ruth.
Hi, everybody.
Introduce yourself.
I'm Ruth Thompson. I'm the founder and director of the Anna Shelter. I started the shelter in 2004, and by the grace of God, I'm still doing it today.
So you've been here 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years that we actually have had the brick and mortar. I did it for about 2 years, just out of my home and out of renting some boarding facilities and things like that, just to kind of get my feet wet, make sure I wanted to do this, and then, yeah, 20 years here in this building.
Why?
Why?
That was my question.
Yes, that is a big question.
Why do you do this?
It's who I am. I can't explain it better than that. I can't see myself doing anything else. Obviously, a passionate animal lover. I come from a business background. I have a degree in finance and human resource management, which has helped me a little bit in other endeavors that I've had. But I mean, animals are just my thing, and I can't. It's very hard to articulate. Other than one thing I read a long time ago is that dog is God spelled backwards for a reason.
Sure.
And I truly believe that. I feel I have such a connection with all animals, but especially the dogs. And I do feel like this was a calling, and it's been bittersweet. It's easy because it's who I am, but it's been more difficult than I anticipated. And I've asked all the time, people will say to me, I want to open my own rescue, and my advice is don't, because had I known how hard it is, I don't necessarily know that I would have, got into it. And it went from, like you had said about your endeavor, it went from something I thought was just going to be my little thing to something that's gotten much bigger. And I do believe that there was a need for it, a need for how we do things. And I think our community embraced us, and here we are. So, yeah, the why is kind of a tricky one, other than just it's who I am. So.
Are you a nonprofit?
We are a nonprofit 501c3. I think the nice thing for us though is we are very independent. So, and again, that's just part of who I am. So the shelter is absolutely a reflection of me. I'm very independent as far as a thinker, a businesswoman. So to have an affiliation with HSUS or ASPCA, not knocking those organizations, they're great. Obviously, they're valuable. But I kind of like doing things my way. I have a fantastic board of directors who really respects me and respects how I do things. And it just works. I like being an independent thinker. I like coming up with things kind of as we go. And I think that would probably frustrate, a lot of other places, because there are times when these guys, stuff will start coming in and they're, what are we going to do? I'm like, we're going to figure it out. We're just going to wing it. We're going to figure it out. And again, by the grace of God, it's literally works.
I can imagine that, and I think I'm the same kind of empathetic thinker that you are, sounds like anyway. When you have something come in, you're like, no, we're just going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Do you ever get pushback from folks or other places saying, no, you have to do it this way because bullet point 1, bullet point 2, and you're like, no, we have these souls we have to save.
Absolutely.
And I don't have time for that.
Absolutely. And I think I'm at a point now, like we talked earlier before the camera came on, 20 years ago, I was a much younger Ruth, and now at this point in my life, I know what I'm doing. I have earned a very good reputation. I work very hard for my reputation. So at this point, I'm like, yeah, go ahead. Y'all push back. You start your own shelter. You do it your way. But at my shelter, this is how we're doing things. And there's a lot of times the girls will laugh and say, like, you're trying to convince yourself. I'm like, yeah. Because I'm like, we got this. We're doing it.
You have to do it sometimes.
Absolutely. I'm a big positive thinker. I think that, and I'm an overthinker by nature. So I'm constantly thinking of worst and best case scenarios. But I also look at the whole idea that everything I thought was going to kill me or stop me or hasn't,
Or
you
kill
know,
you. That was the
yeah,
best.
literally,
Right.
you know,
Absolutely.
and I'm still here, you know. So every time I have faced a roadblock, you know, I'm still here. So I got around it. And again, I'm a Christian, so my faith is very important to me, my family, my friends. So, I mean, I've made it. So, yeah, do I get pushback all the time? And I get a lot of people, especially the keyboard warriors, you know, they're kind of telling me, like, how I should do it, what I should do. And I'm okay with that. Like you and I talked about, I think you get to a point in your life where you're kind of just like, okay. And I don't even hear the chatter. Like, I really just block it out, and I just stay focused on my mission. We're dealing with a bad cruelty case right now. We're literally in the middle of it. You know, I just look at that dog, and I'm like, this is why I'm here. This is just refocuses me. I don't care about anybody else or anything else. Like, this is why I'm here. So.
One quick question I want to ask you about, and I'm interested in it because there's so much said about giving donations here, there, and every other place. I personally don't give any donations to any national organizations.
Yeah.
What is it, 5%, 7%, whatever?
If you're lucky.
It goes back to you. So being a nonprofit makes life a lot easier for you. You just have to make sure that you give it back to the company, everything you make.
Yep.
Because I was a nonprofit also, and there's a lot of advantages to that.
Yeah, so you get it. I mean, I'm literally the steward of the shelter's money. The shelter has its own EIN number, so it's essentially like its own social security number. So the nice thing about here, and like you and I when we walked around, this is an old car wash building. There is nothing fancy. Like, this is as fancy as I get. I washed my hair for you guys. I put on some lip gloss.
Well, it was so nice.
Yeah,
It's really
you're welcome.
Oh my God.
I actually had you in my calendar
I
today,
washed my
so I
hair
knew
too
you were
today.
coming. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So like this
and
is
you replied to my request too. So that's big too.
but again, I believe in treating others the way I want to be treated. So it may take me a week to get to your email, but I'm going to respond. And even if I respond, no, I can't help you, I'm going to respond because I would want that for me. So, yeah, so as far as, you know, it's not fancy. I showed you my office. It's part of the front office where everybody else
It's not
sits.
an office, it's like
A space.
It's a corner. It's literally a corner. And I joke all the time I'm going to get one of those emergency room curtains and just like close myself up. You're not telling me how many times I think about doing it because, and I love how much people love the shelter. It's such a blessing that so many people love us, but it can be exhausting. Everybody wants to talk to me. Everybody wants to show me pictures. And again, I'm not knocking that. I absolutely love it. But I'm in the middle of a grant or working on a report for the state police, and I have to stop 10 times. It's hard. But I work at home a lot, so I do make it work. But yeah, I mean, as far as like fancy, no, girl, this is.
No. Talk about who's with you. Since we made him come in.
Yes, I did. I called. Well, when you said, "Oh, we'd like to meet Officer Duckett," I was like, "Hold on."
I want to do a program on Officer Duckett.
We're going to.
sometime.
We're going to let you. He's going to love it. Yeah, as long as I come and sit with him, he'll be fine.
Oh, so we'll be at the
Yeah, he gets. You know, I guess.
Oh, I don't need her.
No, he's fine.
Oh.
He is
Did you
totally
get that?
fine. Yeah, he's totally fine.
Okay.
He's got this.
Yes.
But here he is. So this is Officer Duckett. This is Eric. He has been my humane officer for.
Since 2017. So,
okay.
Yeah, I was just
Do the math.
thinking in my head, and yeah, we're what is that?
Going on 7 years.
Yeah, we're going on
Yeah.
7 years.
So he worked at the shelter
spring.
prior. You worked
Yeah,
here.
I worked at the shelter prior. I actually got involved with the shelter as a volunteer about 10 to, we were just talking about this like 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
And I just absolutely loved it so much that I wanted to work here, and I ended up working here, and then we kind of evolved into what I do now as a humane police officer.
How do you do that? That would be the worst. I can't even, first of all, when the thing comes on television from ASPC,
Yeah.
whatever it is, and they show those animals, forget it. You know what I do? Off. Turn the sound on. Walk to another room. I don't want to see it. I don't even want to know that it exists. I know it exists. We talked about that one other time. But how in God's name do you get the strength to do that?
I think you really have to compartmentalize things, and not like I kind of have to shut off my work brain when I go home.
Oh my
You know,
God,
and I have
yes.
family life at home, so you really have to, because it burns you out. You know, everything we see and every day, like Ruth was talking about, right now we have a big cruelty case, and every day I come to work, we never know what we're going to get into that day. I mean, I could go out on a call in an hour and we might, be bringing in 20 animals, so yeah, I mean, I just kind of learned to shut off my brain when I go home, and occasionally, there's stuff to deal with work at home, but it's like I have two different brains.
Well,
So
now
when
you
you're
do-
when you're out there, you see the worst of humanity
Yeah,
and what
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
what humanity
And the best probably.
and
sometimes.
probably the best because
Yeah.
you work
yeah.
with folks.
Yeah, we
that-
see really good people and really
And-
bad people.
How do you compartmentalize that? I mean, for me, and just being honest, the frustration and anger would be very difficult for me to
I mean, when I'm there, I know I have a job to do.
Right.
It's my job, and you know, I have to follow legal standards when I'm doing my job. So.
But as a person.
But as a person,
outside of officer.
Yeah. I mean, stuff bothers us. I mean, you know, we like to have fun in other ways that lets us relieve our stress. But
dark humor. Do you practice dark humor?
Oh yeah.
Because
we rely on each
all
other
the
a
time.
lot.
Yeah, all the time.
Text, we talk probably twice a day.
Yeah.
Text
So,
each other, encouraging things.
But like when I'm actually on the job, I mean, I'm like 100% focused on, you know, one, finding out if there's an issue with the animal, and two, if there is, you know, solving that issue, whether it be removing the animal and pressing charges or whatnot. But
have you had issues with the humans? You know, giving pushback to you when you're there doing your job.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, we deal with people who are mentally unstable. You know, we deal with it all. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What areas do you service? I know you're in Erie. I know you're in Crawford.
we do all of Erie County and Crawford County. So I think it's about a 3,000 square mile area.
Oh.
So all the way from here, all the way to Cochranton, and all the way to Titusville, and yeah, it's a pretty large area.
And how many officers are there to
Just me.
One officer to do a
Yeah.
3,000 square mile
Yeah.
area.
It's a lot.
That's a problem.
Yeah,
That's a problem.
So who?
Now you're depressing us. We don't want to do this anymore.
I know, but I know.
No,
pays you?
how do you get that?
The shelter pays me.
Oh, you're.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
So
an
Ruth
employee,
is my
but-
boss, yeah.
So you're not hired by the state.
No, absolutely
He's
not.
sworn
no.
in by the state.
Yeah.
Sworn in
The
by
only
the
thing we have
state.
to do with the state is that we're sworn in by the state, and they loosely regulate us, which they really don't.
That's pathetic.
Yeah.
That there's only one officer. I mean, I drive school bus, and I was telling
It's
you
kind of
that
like everything
before.
else with the state. They just want their fee.
Yeah, but I could tell you 100 places that I see
Yeah.
that are just pathetic and terrible situations, and you're the only one that can help us.
Yeah.
Why are there not more humane officers? It
was-
just drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Funding.
Funding.
You know, some of it.
Don't even start me on
A lot
that.
of it has to do with local governments. You know, the way they handle
Yeah.
stuff.
The state police at each barracks
Yeah.
has an animal control liaison now. Every barracks has one. But again, when the city has its own police officers, the state won't come in. So some of the more rural areas are covered. I know Meadville has an ACL, but I don't know who it is.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
would work
everything
there.
in Crawford County, they pretty much refer everything to us. But I mean, the state police in general have been amping up
Yeah.
training officers to handle animal cruelty cases.
A lot of times the animal cruelty leads to other things, which is what the state police kind of has gotten into, and maybe into, child welfare or drug activity. So they're kind of finding like the animals are just the iceberg, tip of the iceberg, and then they have something bigger going on. So I think that's part of the reason.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure, but we seem to assist them a lot. Once
Yeah.
once they find the abused animals, then it's kind of like we're involved. So.
But a lot of it is, funding for shelters, because a lot of, people who do my job are either employed or volunteer for a shelter. So a lot of it is funding for those local shelters, and some of it is people have gotten so frustrated with the way local government works that they've completely backed off because, they're fighting the fight, but nothing's changing. Unfortunately, we see a lot of that in Crawford County. I think a lot of it comes down to revenue, law enforcement revenue. So
I deal with and have dealt with Sue DeArmond, and she now has Wildlife in Need.
Oh, I love her.
And her stories, I mean, she was a tail wreck for a long, long time, but her stories of the phone calls that she gets and off
Well,
she
I have her
goes
on
to.
speed dial. I
do
probably
too.
talk to her once a week. People brought in a hawk just the other day, duck, and she's great.
She does programs for me, and she's doing 2 more programs for me, I think, in the next month
Oh, that's awesome.
on anything like that, because people just don't know what to do and who to turn to.
Yeah.
a lot of it's that too. A lot of it is that too.
We always try
So-
to offer resources, like with the hawk, or I'll try to tell people like I can't help you, but I'll find somebody that can, so that we're helping them figure out what their need is, and and then you do that a lot with referrals
Yeah,
for your stuff.
I'll pull up to places in Crawford County, and some of it's just stuff where people need some help, and I had no idea you guys
Activating.
existed.
Well, you
Right.
can't get. Sometimes I get so angry, but then you have to realize some people don't know what to do.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, if they know what they're doing, they are blatantly ignoring the rules and what they're supposed to do. I have no patience at all.
Exactly.
I mean, that makes
Yeah.
my blood pressure fly.
But I have like such a heart for the mentally ill, for the
Oh, God,
seniors.
yes.
I don't think mental illness is taken, well, maybe now a little bit more than when I first started this place, but I think mental illness is such a thing, or the seniors that are forgotten. I think one of my cases that I'll never forget, a guy in Meadville, Crawford County, and it was a UPS driver that said, hey, this place is bad. You know, he's going to the bathroom in a bucket. There's no electricity, no running water. And I remember we went there, and really nice guy, and I said, well, how many dogs do you think you have? And he said, well, I started with 2. And I'll never forget that. And he had 41. We took 41 Chihuahuas out of his house. And what broke my heart is that we got active aging involved because he was living in squalor. And he said, well, my daughter's out of town. He says, and his daughter lived in Pittsburgh. You know, she was an hour and a half away from her dad. And when I ended up talking to her on the phone, the one state trooper was like, you should be a counselor. Because I was like, shame on you. You know, do you see how your dad is living? You know, and I got so angry that, like, you know, this guy has a human in his life that should have been, it's just why I live out of town. I'm like, dude, you could be here in an hour and 15 minutes. Like, I drove an hour to get here to help your dad. You know, you should. So, anyway, that's a whole other story. But with that being said, I think, you know, the seniors, the mentally ill, we have big hearts for those. But you're right, the cruel, the people that blatantly, and I'll share with you when the cameras are not on, the case that we're working on right now. And it's blatantly horrific human being, and I can't wait for that to get resolved. But our big thing is I want the animals. Like his job, the state police, they take care of the charges and that part. I just want to take care of the dogs.
What do you have? Mostly dogs and cats that you help with?
Yeah, we're primarily
I'm not going to see a snake
cats.
back there, am I?
We just did a large reptile rescue. Yeah, with the tarantula and everything.
Oh my God.
So we take anything that needs our help. So it's literally the Association for Needy and Neglected Animals. So, I mean, I take that to heart. So if an animal needs us, I don't really care what kind of animal. There are some limitations as far as the wildlife. We're not licensed to handle wildlife. We're not licensed to handle some of the reptiles. But again, I will reach out for resources. So primarily dogs and cats, a lot of small mammals, guinea pigs. We just did a rescue with 137 dwarf rabbits. There were close to 300 on the property, only 137 that were alive. So I still have about 25 of those. So we've got parakeets right now. So yeah, anything that needs our help.
And you can house all of them here?
The majority of the animals do stay here. I have a triage barn for large-scale seizures when we do have 100 dogs that need to come in. One, it would be debilitating to the staff here for me to bring 100 dogs. So I have a separate area what's up to quarantine, and those animals, especially those kind of things, are usually coming from very hectic situations. We kind of give them a detox area. As much as we love the animal shelter, it's prison. It's animal jail. You know, they don't want to be here, so it's stressful. We have a puppy building where anything that's under 5 months that's not fully vaccinated doesn't come into this building just for disease control purposes. We rely very little on foster homes. Again, it's kind of, I like to say taskmaster, not control freak, but I prefer to be able to hands-on and do my own thing. And sometimes fosters, they can be a blessing and a curse. So I have to kind of be careful with what I'm dealing with. But yeah, the majority of it we do here. We have a farm where we house the farm animals, horses, random cows, whatever he finds and brings to me.
So regarding funding, as your nonprofit, you rely on funding.
Yep.
Where is the bulk of your funding come from? The general public?
Yep. Number one source for us is general public. We have 2 wellness centers that we have 5 veterinarians here on staff, 4 of which see public animals, so the funding from that. We have a groom shop, we have a thrift shop. Again, business was my thing, so it's kind of
Sure.
yeah, I can figure this out, I do a lot of grant writing, so again, it's literally a one day at a time, and it always works. So that's kind of where I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing because my needs are always met.
Yeah.
And never more than what I need, but always exactly what I need. So I feel like as long as that keeps going, maybe I'll do this God willing, another 20 years. So
at least you have to.
I'm going to keep trying.
Who's going to take over when you're not doing it?
I don't know.
That's the worry.
I know. It is. I do. I think about it a lot. I have a couple staff members that I think, if I put them together, they could be me. But, I think I'm crazy in the best way. I'm not crazy, but I'm crazy, And the fact that I do this and give so much of myself for this, I don't know that anybody else, this is my baby, so I don't know anybody else that's going to love it like I do. But I have a couple staff members that I think if they teamed up and put it together, hopefully, God forbid, but who knows? None of us know what's going to happen tomorrow, or tonight, who knows? But
that's the best way that people can help you with the shelter?
I mean, we're grassroots, so, simple donations, blankets, towels, bleach, laundry soap. I never like to ask, again, we talked about treat others the way you want to be treated. I never like to say to somebody like, well, I need $10,000, because I couldn't give somebody $10,000. But could I buy a couple extra bleach and laundry soap next time I go to the grocery store? Yeah, and drop it off here. I buy myself new bath towels, I'll give the shelter my old ones. So simple things like that. Spreading the word. Our social media platforms, thank God, are
That's
huge.
good.
Yeah, so I mean, spreading the word. We had a post one time shared 3 million times, and even Facebook was like, they noticed that. They're like, hey, I want to sell some ads to you, which I would never do that because I feel like I'd be pimping myself out, so I won't do that. But sharing our posts on social media, getting more people aware of what we do and who we are. And again, that whole Betty White, when Betty White died, and she said, I want everybody to give a shelter $10. And we made like $20,000, so it's like that power of if so many people donate a little bit of money, it really helps us out. So, and then too, grantors look at, if I write for a grant and the grantor is in Texas, they don't know me and they're not coming to the Anna shelter, they don't know my reputation, but they look on social media and say, oh, wow, a lot of people like this place, you know what I mean? A lot of people are checking this place out. So that does help. So, it doesn't cost money to help us, and we love visitors. We encourage people to come here. It's so good for the animals, the stimulation mentally, for them to see different people and to interact. And certainly we have isolation sides, so animals that don't benefit from that don't go on those sides. But so there's all kinds of things you can do that don't cost money. Donation drives at work are a huge one for us. We probably, at least a couple times a week, an insurance office, they'll say, hey, we did a donation drive and all of our clients we asked all our clients to bring a jug of bleach, and so here's 30 jugs of bleach.
Right.
So that saves me money. Then I can use my money for what's going to happen the next couple days with those dogs coming in.
So folks to just use your imagination.
Yeah.
If it's with my book, it didn't make a bunch of money, but it's making a little, and what my book is making, I've donated to you folks.
I love your book.
And I donated that through the website.
Yeah.
So how can folks donate financially?
Same thing. We've got PayPal, Venmo. You can mail a check. You can call in a credit card. Anything like that. People, again, we love visitors, so people will come in. They walk around. And they put $20 in the donation jar.
Awesome.
Like, it adds up, But yeah, your book's fantastic. I gotta say, yeah, I love it. I read it. It's actually it sounds terrible, but it's on my bathtub. It's like bathtub reading. So maybe
It's
I'll
because
bathtub.
of little stories. That's
Yeah,
what
it is, yeah,
it's like
it's
a Reader's Digest.
Exactly. I
Yeah,
love it.
like a chicken soup for the soul type
Amen.
thing.
Yeah,
But
I
I was so excited to do that because I knew, I'm not a famous author,
Right.
but
Yet.
I'm thinking, there we go,
Yeah.
But I figured, each quarter, if it makes any money, then it comes to you guys.
That's awesome.
Because my animals are shelter dogs. I've always gotten a shelter dog.
Yeah.
And I feel that the ones that are abused, neglected, or forgotten, or like you were saying, the seniors or their family members have passed on, and all of a sudden you're getting these dogs because no one else in the family wants to take care of them. That's another thing. Do you talk to families or provide
Resources.
Resources saying, okay, if mom passes because she's now 95
and her dog's 17.
and her dog's, who's going to take care of this dog?
I tell people all the time, like, this is putting grandma in prison. Like, and I ask them, what can we do to help you keep the dog? Oh, the dog's mouth is rotten. She has bad teeth. I'm like, we'll do a dental. We won't charge you anything. Can you just keep the dog? Because it's just so stressful for that dog. Now, one, it's already lost its human. And now it's at a house where people it kind of knows but doesn't really know, and then it's in prison. Like, and my mouth hurts. You know what I mean? So all that adds up.
It's a lot of stress.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, if this is your absolute last resort, but I try so hard. I'm all about. We have a pet food bank. We do free medical care. I'm all about keeping the dog home. The retention is so important. So I'm all about that. And I try not to give people guilt trips, but I figure, like we talked about, I'm going to say what I need to say, and they can, and I'm a firm believer too, it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yes.
So I try my approach to be more like, hey, let's talk about this. And
So I come in, I've got a dog. I found it or whatever. What's the procedure? How do they get from there back to here?
So if you found the dog, the majority of our dogs are stray that come in wandering on the street, whether it's a lie or the truth. People say I found it, but it's really their dog. So we have a 3 to 5 day hold. So the state requires a 48-hour hold. We give it a little bit longer. We put some effort into trying to find the owner. And if not, then it goes through our adoption process. It becomes fully vetted. And by that, I mean it becomes spayed or neutered, current on all vaccines, parasite free, it's microchipped. it's ready to go. So everything you would, a responsible pet owner would do is already done for
Correct.
you prior to the dog going up for adoption, or dog or cat or rodent, whatever kind of animal it is. So the majority of them are strays. We get a lot of strays, the public strays, the police department strays, the animal enforcement strays. I have a very limited base for owner surrenders. Places like Because You Care, Happy Bark, I kind of push people off to those places if they need an owner surrender. I do have a waiting list. And again, if I think a dog's going to get in and out of here quickly, I might be able to take it sooner. But if I think it's going to be a tough sell, then I will put them off a little bit just so I have room. And like he said, we don't know if we're going to have, every morning I come in here, I have no idea what's going on. He might go on a call and call me and say, hey, I'm bringing 7 dogs back. I got to have a place to put them. So we try to work off of that kind of thing and take owner surrenders as we can. But certainly I have a responsibility to what I consider my alumni. So if someone adopts a dog, they don't want it anymore, and it came from here, I feel committed to that animal, so I do want it back here at the shelter. But you know, if you're just like, well, the kids got back into soccer and nobody's playing with Fido, so we're gonna bring him to the shelter. I'm like, yeah, well, you're gonna have to figure it out. It's gonna be a couple weeks, you know.
COVID was here, COVID's gone. What am I gonna do with this dog that I really don't want?
Exactly, yeah. Well, he's pent up. I'm like, well, there's doggy daycare. There's like things you can do, you know. And I promise you, if you gave the dog the choice, like, hey, buddy, you can either spend 8 hours in your crate and the kids will play with you when they get home from school, or you can go sit in prison. The dog's gonna be like, I'll wait. You know, like, I'll sit here and wait for you guys to get home and just give me
Dogs
some
don't
attention.
know time.
No, exactly. And it's,
people think they do, and they really don't.
it's a commitment and it's a responsibility, and I'm not your mom, you know, so I figure
That
it
was
out.
one thing that you and I we talked about a lot on the 2 other episodes that we were on together. Don't get a dog unless you can firmly commit
Yeah.
to your time, your mental capacity, physical capacity, and financial
Yeah.
resources.
If you look
It's
at
a
every
lifetime
post,
commitment for that
Yeah.
dog, and that's anywhere from 2 years to 18 plus
Yeah.
years.
Forever.
I
Correct?
always
Yeah,
say,
it's
do
a
you have the
lifetime
resources?
commitment.
And people, what do you mean by that? Time, energy, money. Like,
Right.
those are resources you need to have a
Physically,
pet.
physically, can you care for this
Exactly,
pet?
yeah.
Don't get a large dog when you
Right.
can't take the dog for a
Yeah.
walk.
Or my favorite is they get a blue heeler or a stray cattle dog. And it's so pretty. She's blue and she's
She's
blue
so
eyes.
pretty.
So
But she
nice.
nips at my kids.
Right.
Really, because that's her job.
Yes.
That's
Part of this
And I
thing,
always
yeah.
tell people these were bred for a purpose. And I know you said about pedigree dogs. I have Doberman pinchers. I love the breed. I have friends that breed dogs. I have no problem with a well-bred dog that people are procuring a great breed. They love the breed for whatever reason. And you can get purebred dogs at the shelter. One of our girls did a TikTok of all the purebred dogs that we have. Now, this will be a whole nother chat for another time, but there's a huge difference between purebred and well-bred. So I have purebred
Yes.
dogs. Yeah, I have purebred dogs from the Amish. They're real golden retrievers, absolutely. Mom was a golden, dad was a golden, but mom and dad might have been brother and sister, you know what I mean? So I have purebred dogs, maybe not well-bred, and some of my dogs maybe were well-bred. Some people will say, well, she has AKC papers. Like, I don't care about that. So there's such a huge difference that I'm always aware of. But most of these dogs, the purebred dogs, were bred for a purpose. Like, research the breed. I have Dobermans, they don't like a lot of activity. They're protection bred. So I don't have a lot of people in and out of my house. And my one male, I put away when people come over because he doesn't like a lot of people, you know. So you've got to do your research. If you had 5 kids and their friends are in and out all the time, maybe a Doberman's not the best idea.
Probably not.
So I try really hard, and like we were talking again before the camera came on, I've gotten okay with people not really, you know, people getting mad at me. They want something, and I'm like, this isn't a good fit, you know. Or I love, just the other day, we had a cute little scruffy dog, and you post the picture, and everybody wants that dog. And a guy came in, he says, I want to adopt Cody. And I was like, have you met the dog yet? And he's like, no, I know I want him. So I said to him, that would be like you seeing me online going, I'm going to marry that girl. And you have no idea, like, you don't know me. You know, maybe you think I look okay, but, you know, you haven't spent any time with me. And he was kind of like, okay, I get it, you know. So they did adopt the dog, but they did love it. But yeah, so you can't fall in love with a picture. You know, that's just silly.
Right. So what is your process for adoption?
So there is a 2-page application, and we verify 4 things. We verify, 1, that if you don't own your own home or the property, that your landlord is aware and allowing the pet on the property. We verify that you have a source of income, because the adoption fee is just the beginning, as you guys know. But
What
not
do you
everybody
charge?
knows. So anywhere from no adoption fees. We have adoption donations, so maybe some of our seniors,
Sure.
some of our harder placed dogs. The most I have charged for a dog is $450, and they are literally, you know, I had a litter of golden retriever puppies, where it's a divorce situation. They were selling the puppies for $2,000. So I was like, well, you're getting a deal, because they'll be $450 here, you know.
Right.
And I consider it like a VIP adoption, because those puppies, I had Within 30 minutes of them being online, I had 300 applications from all over the country, people willing to fly here because we do require you come to the shelter. And then there's a dog like Dutch who has been here just over a year. So I had people say, like, well, why are these puppies $4.50 and this dog is free? And I'm like, because these puppies are going to help pay Dutch's bills because they're going to be out of here in 2 days and Dutch is going to sit here for another year, you know? So, and again, I'm at a point where, like, if you don't like it, then go somewhere else.
Right.
You know? Like,
right.
I can't make everybody happy.
How long does the dog stay here until you make another arrangement for him? And are you no-kill?
We are no-kill. So, and when I say no-kill, we are truly no-kill. I know there are other places that say, like, we follow no-kill practices, but that doesn't mean you're no-kill. We literally will not euthanize an animal unless it has a health issue that has been determined unfixable. You guys met Annie out there, my house dog.
Oh, yeah.
She has been determined unfixable. She's got a lot of issues, but that dog, like, we have connected on a soul level. She's a survivor, I'm a survivor, so that dog's not going anywhere. She'll stay here forever. But, for example, we euthanized a cat on Saturday, had a broken back, was literally bent in half, couldn't do anything for her. One of the cruelty cases that just came in on Friday night, I spent $5,000, $498 yesterday at PBSEC. I took the dog right from the cruelty case to PBSEC. And then they're great. They give me a really good discount, so I'll get that discounted down.
What about in Pittsburgh on 279?
Yeah, exactly.
Been there many
Camhorn
times.
Road. Yes. Yeah, I go in there and they're like,
I used to
"Hey."
live by there.
Oh yeah, great
Yes.
place. Great place, good people. So I will put every resource into an animal if it's viable. And then at the same time, behavior-wise too, I will work with a fearful dog all day long. But dogs that are truly aggressive, and the one I liken that to is, Ted Bundy was born bad. He was born to a wealthy family. He had a good education. He had luck with women. He was successful in his other endeavors, but he was crazy. For whatever reason, he had a chemical imbalance. And I do believe that runs true in all the animal world.
I
So
agree.
there are some dogs that are truly aggressive, and I feel like they're better off in heaven. I've seen recently we had a case where a dad kept a dog that he knew was aggressive, and now his daughter is missing an eye and an ear because of it. She's 3 years old, which that dog should have been euthanized long before the child came into their life. I believe that animals go to heaven, so at that point I feel like, okay, God, like, I can't, this dog's gonna hurt somebody. And the last thing I want is to see on TV a dog that I knew was gonna hurt somebody has hurt someone. And thank God this little girl lived, but I mean, could that dog have killed her? Easily. She was about 50 pounds, it was a 100-pound dog. And thankfully the dad was right there and was able to get the dog off of her. But again, she's missing an eye and an ear now because her dad was irresponsible. So.
Do you find people, who does that? That's the police that you deal with. If somebody actually does something, doesn't have the right licenses, and doesn't have
The police-
rabies and all that
the-
stuff, what happens then? How do you know that?
the police can enforce that. I can't. I can only enforce animal cruelty laws.
Dog law?
Yeah, that would be dog law. But
Do you call the police and tell them if there's a situation that...
if it's like something bad, I would refer it to dog law, to the dog wardens. So there's one in Erie County and one in Crawford County.
Right.
That would
Okay,
be up to
so
them.
you are
the police will enforce it. Like if the state police are doing charges on a cruelty case, they can charge for that as well. So they will, but I cannot.
So what is your title again then?
My legal title is humane police officer.
Humane police officer,
Yeah.
and then you mentioned dog wardens.
Yeah, so dog wardens enforce, they enforce dog law, which is, enforcement of having a rabies vaccine, dog licenses.
Running loose.
Dangerous dog, and then they also pick up stray dogs.
I think the best way to differentiate, and it helps people, is I tell people it's Eric's job to protect animals from people, and it's the warden's job to protect people from animals, if that makes sense. So that's kind of
Yeah,
a
You
way.
should print that and put that on
Should be a
your
t-shirt.
website. That is a t-shirt.
It's a poster
No, that's
or
a good one,
t-shirt,
really.
Thanks.
That's
I mean, that
really
to me is
something.
like the easiest way, because people will say, like, what, I'm like, that's what the difference in what we do.
So, and is there a warden per county?
Most counties have one, yeah.
Most.
Some
Yeah,
don't even
most.
have one.
I was gonna say, but not all, right?
Right.
No, but
How
the
unfortunate.
dog law does have, some type of presence in that county, whether it's somebody working 2 counties, but most counties have their own.
A lot of it falls on the police departments, whether it's the
Yeah.
city or the county.
So
or the
there
state.
is literally, it's just a shortage period across all levels of animal welfare.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's a shortage of people willing to step up.
Oh yeah, and not to knock dog law, because I work really well with the group in Harrisburg, but so every year it got less and less as for what they would say, oh, can you take our stray dogs? I'm like, sure, bring them. And I would take it for free, it's fine. But now they're at a point where it's $5 for every stray dog they bring to us. And quite honestly, the amount of paperwork that goes along with that one dog isn't worth the $5. So I'd rather just like, yeah, keep your $5 and I'll just not have to do as much BS with paperwork. But we still are regulated, so all the paperwork is done. But yeah, I mean, lack of funding, and I guess they can't even fund the the dog wardens. So, but at the same time, kind of like, well, if you never know where to take the dog, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it should be a little more of a symbiotic relationship.
Typical government stuff.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
we don't want to talk bad about anybody.
No, there was a situation recently in Meadville where someone tried to open up a particular facility, and on the side she was trying to help people that couldn't afford to get the collars and leashes and stuff like that, or if a dog was found, she would just keep it for a couple hours until they could get it to the shelter or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The police came and shut her down. I thought, come on, why don't you help her out?
Right, yeah.
That's the problem. All good intentions, sometimes as far as the pets are concerned, go down the sewer because we got to do this, this, and this. Well, wait a
The
minute.
regulations
Yeah,
and
come
stuff.
on,
that
give
are
me a break
involved.
here.
Yeah. Probably better off to just stay under the radar. I'm not telling anybody to do
No,
something
I'm not
illegal,
either, but I'm going to tell you
but
something.
stay
That
under the radar.
series
No, I can understand. I was going to say I can understand why people do stay under the radar
Yeah.
because their heart, just like yours, mine, well, all of us here, want to help the animals, but they don't jump. That's probably why
Yeah.
a big percentage of why people don't step up because there's too much red tape to go through,
Yeah.
and they just want to help the animals.
For sure.
And the animals are suffering while that red tape and paperwork is being done, and you're waiting weeks and weeks and
Yeah.
months and.
Well, if it's in Erie or Crawford County, we can help you. But otherwise, but at the same time, we get calls from every other county and even into Ohio and New York. And I'm all about finding them resources. I don't want an animal to starve to death because it's off of the Ohio state
Right.
line. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
We're going to do whatever we can. And unfortunately for us, we've earned a reputation with a lot of the different state police, whether it's New York or Ohio, where they'll call us and we call them and we kind of try to work together. And a lot of times it is a matter of, yeah, we know about this starving horse, but we don't know where to take it. And then that's when we step up and say, well, we'll take it, you know.
I didn't realize, I did a program not too long ago on Fix and Wagon, which is the spade and neuter.
Was that Regina?
Regina
from Hog
Martin,
Heaven?
and people know that from Hog Heaven.
She's a good lady, yeah.
Well, there's one that no one knew
Yeah.
about, and people say
Oh, yeah,
they
she's
get a
been
cat,
doing
and
that
I
a long
say,
time.
oh my God, yes. Well, prior to that, she did all types of rescues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
I know
she
Regina
just
real
has
well.
probably 45 potbelly pigs.
Yeah.
Well, she used to be an animal cruelty officer.
Yes.
Absolutely, and that's
Yeah.
how I first met her.
Yeah.
In fact, we were on that same group that used to go if there was an accident on 79.
Cart. The
And
cart team?
I was on the cart team for a while.
Yeah.
But more people I told about that Fix and Wagon, I said, wait a minute, you don't quite understand this. This is the best thing going.
Yeah.
And it's right in Meadville at the boot
Yeah.
box, and
Right.
everybody
Yeah.
knows where that is.
Yeah.
So I said, well, here's the deal. You call Regina Martin, you get an appointment, and then you do this.
Yeah.
And as you go in there, they're doing 35, 40 cats on a given day. And I say, remember all those cats that you saw running around Meadville and Conneaut Lake and all the surrounding areas? Get them over there. And some are actually in traps because the people can't
Right,
even
you can't
grab
handle them, yeah.
But that's the best thing going. Again, people don't know what's available.
Right.
And once you tell them, that they're more liable to do something about it.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Well, and that's why you're helping out with your show here to get the word out to even more people.
Constantly.
Reaching an audience. So how you had mentioned before that you do things with the local news stations and stuff. How do you typically get the word out there to the general public outside of like your social media?
Yeah. So again, our social media is a huge blessing. Great platform there. I'm on TV twice a week. Another staff member here is on once a week. We do radio twice a week. So again, yeah. And the other thing too, I think one of the niches for our shelter that has worked. If you invite us, we're going. I mean, we've been to some of the most random stuff where even I'm like, oh, we don't really belong here. But if somebody's like, hey, can you bring a dog and hang out with us? Absolutely. We visit about 600 seniors a month through our Anna Cares program. We're in all of the schools, whether it's kindergarten through the universities here in town, because I feel like the more people that know about us and about our mission and about what we do, the more the word spreads. So that has worked. And again, I mean, almost too good. You know, I'm getting calls from places where I'm like, how do you know about us? You know, like, oh my God. I was going through the PayPal donations, and we had a big horse rescue not that long ago. I mean, I was getting donations from Australia, from Dubai, all because of social media. You know,
Absolutely.
somebody was like, you know, hey, I saw what you guys did. That's amazing. So Yeah, I mean, I'm all about the grassroots. We have zero advertising budget, like none. So big things like Erie Gives, where you know the newspaper will come, and all of those things are poised for advertising. I'm not stupid, you know. And they'll come and say, well, we're Erie's Best of Erie, and you guys were nominated for Best of Erie nonprofit. And I'm like, oh, that's cool, thanks. You know, I feel like we've earned that. And then they're like, well, you can get a full page ad for $1,000.
Oh yeah,
and
they
you know,
tried
and
that
I'm
with
like,
me too.
yeah, we're nonprofit. Like we don't. Okay, I shouldn't say shame on you if you have an advertising budget because everybody's different. But I literally need every penny for these animals. So you're gonna support me because you love us and you love what we do, or you're not. You know, if you see an ad in the paper and that's why you're gonna support me, I really don't want your money. You know what I mean? Like support me because you're like, yeah, they're working their butts off. Like they.
That's why when I leave here today, you're going to give me a bunch of flyers, and then every place that we go in Crawford
I'm gonna
County.
give you some Anna merch.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're gonna like look like
We
me.
can represent.
Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
yeah, and we talked about the dogs. What about cats? You get an awful lot of cats.
Yeah, we
mentions.
do, and that's why I hate to always say, like, dogs, you know, I've had people say, like, well, you don't like cats. One, I'm allergic, but thankfully, it's a contact allergy. So I can be in a room full of cats, no problem. If I touch the cat, touch my face, it's over.
You're in trouble.
I have to go home, it's terrible, and my eyes swell up, it's awful.
We were just talking.
We
I'm
just
the
talked
same
about
way.
that.
It's awful. But I mean, but it happens all the time. Somebody will bring in a newborn kitten, and I'm trying to tube feed it, and the next thing I know, I'm rubbing my eye, and I'm like, damn it. You know,
Yeah, why did I do that? Now I'm in trouble.
Yeah, but I mean, I love all animals. I mean, my heart is for all of them, and I literally mean needy and neglected animals. I've helped, like you, I'm not a huge fan of reptiles or some of the rodents, but I've helped them all, you know. And actually, I did fall in love with a snake. It was the weirdest thing. It was like,
There's something wrong with
let
you
me
now.
tell you, no, I'm going to share the picture
come
with you
on.
later.
It's just a corn.
She was the most affectionate. Like she was trying to get up in my hair.
Oh.
No, I'm going to show you. I loved it. So, and then and same thing. I fell in love with a rat, and I'm not usually a fan, but he was so smart, and I had him on my shoulder for days. Yeah. So, but yeah, all animals, cats, dogs, rodents, you name it. I love them. But yes, obviously, you know, dogs are my thing. I just feel such a connection, and I don't know. I can't explain it, and I don't think I even have to anymore. It's just who I am. So. Yeah, but we have all kinds of animals.
It's their pure souls.
Yeah, and even for me, horses. Like I personally have had horses since I was a little girl, and we were just joking the other day. Falling off at my age is not like it was when I was
that would hurt.
Yeah, I was like a little cowgirl. You know, any horse I would ride, jump on, run across a field. Now I'm like, there might be holes out in that field. Like
If he trips,
it's
I go
cold.
forward.
Yeah, like it's cold
Right.
out. I was bucked off 3 times the last time I rode my horse, and I hurt for days.
Oh my God, yes.
And I was like, yeah, this isn't for me. But like to just be in their stall with them and just listening to them chew their hay, and a couple of my horses are super affectionate. It's good for my soul. So, but yes, it's a good. Yeah. So no, I don't ride like it.
Well,
Animals become so in tune with their
Oh,
human
for sure.
when it's a good human.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
And
yeah.
I talk about that a lot with each dog I've had that has been from a shelter. I live with PTSD, and the dogs, after a certain amount of time, it seems to me that they become so in tune with me,
100%.
and they will let me know, hey, something's coming, Mom.
Yeah,
Let's-
100%.
Let's, I'm going to be here.
They
and you're
have
gonna pet
that
me.
sixth sense.
Yes,
that
and
we
that's
don't
what I
have.
think that
Yeah.
whole communication type
Yeah.
thing that people might look at me, and probably you too, and you, like, oh, you guys are crazy. No, I actually talk to them.
I tell people,
And
legit,
I
am
know they
crazy.
know what I'm saying.
I'm legit. I agree. I think I am crazy, but I think I'm the best the best crazy.
I don't think you're crazy, and I don't think any
Because
of
you
us
understand
are
me.
Yes, because I get it,
Yeah.
and I don't think it's crazy. I think it's an amazing gift from God,
I agree.
and we wouldn't be built or made the way we are and do what we do and care for animals the way we do
I love you
unless it was
already.
from somewhere else.
Yeah, 100%.
Because not everybody can do what you do. I'm going to start crying. Not everybody can
Oh,
do what
you
you
did
do.
that the last time we did a
Not
program.
everybody can do what you do. I have such a heart for
She's not
animals.
going to bring you on the show anymore.
I have
Oh,
such
I
a
love
heart
you.
for
I
animals.
already- I just-
It's
yeah.
crazy. That's why I told her. I said, "Oh my gosh, we're going in the shelter. I don't know if I can."
Yeah.
Everybody told me to walk in, but don't walk out.
Don't
with the
walk
pet,
out with
little pet.
anything.
You will
Right.
keep your pet tubes tied.
Please,
I
please,
had,
please.
Going through my divorce, I had
Pet
11
tubes.
dogs. Yeah.
11
I had 11
dogs.
dogs at home. Now, at the time, I lived on 22 acres, had a lot of property, but, a really sad dog. I'd be like, I'm sad too. Come on, let's go to my
Yeah.
house, And then I was standing on my deck, and I was watching all the dogs run around, and at that point, I was starting to feel better about life. And I remember as clear as day, I thought, I am completely undateable. What man is going to come to my house and go
Absolutely.
oh, we have 11 dogs? Like, yeah, 11 dogs.
Would you date a guy that didn't like dogs?
Absolutely not.
No.
No way.
Yeah,
Why?
me either. Me either.
Absolutely not.
No,
I
if
think
you're not
that
an animal
speaks to his
lover,
character.
move on.
We have
Yeah.
to talk to our
Yeah.
officer here.
Oh.
Tell us, come on, tell us.
on,
come on.
share some of your
Come on,
personal
Roselle,
stuff.
I was just enjoying
Dish.
being the sideshow.
No, it's
No,
just,
we want to share a personal story that makes
Dish,
you
stuck
cry.
it. Probably the weekend was bad, huh? When I say.
Well, not for me. I mean,
Give us
I
a
wasn't
bad one.
really dealing with
Oh,
that.
I don't know. Do we want to hear a bad one?
Yeah.
Tell us why you
Yeah,
love animals
I mean-
first.
Just the same reasons. I mean, they speak to you and they understand you. And I've just always been very compassionate about animals. I grew up on a farm for a brief moment of my childhood, so I've been around animals my whole life. And yeah, I just was I had no intentions of ever working in the animal field, but here I am.
And here you
what
are.
animals do you have? Do you have them at home?
Yeah, so we have dogs, cats.
Well, how many
goats,
dogs do you have?
Pigs. Right now we have one dog.
Okay. That's a little bit more.
A couple cats,
Okay.
and then we have 2 goats, 2 pigs, and some chickens.
Are goats as fun as they seem?
Yeah, I mean they're very personable. I mean,
Are they destructive?
no,
Oh.
I mean I guess.
They just seem like little teenagers.
Yeah,
When you look in their
define-
faces, you
Yeah,
just,
I mean-
you can hear them talking like, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to bash
No,
into her
they're
with my
very
head.
personal. We don't have any that do that. I mean, billy goats maybe, yeah, but.
How about how cool are your pigs, though?
Yeah, the pigs are really cool.
Pigs are
They're
great pets.
smart. They're like dogs. Last week I left the gate open going into our little pasture, and they all ran out. I'm like,
You were herding pigs.
they're little escape artists, but they're so smart too. I mean, they come like a dog. So
Pigs are the best. I had a 400-pound pet pig for 6 years, and he was so much smarter than my dogs, and had so much personality. And it's like a perpetual 3-year-old. He would have tantrums
Yeah.
on me and get mad. He'd pout.
It makes that terrible sound.
Oh yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Oh, but he was 400 pounds, had these little tiny feet. He could run like the wind. When he got mad at me and wanted to run away, he was so fast.
Do you ever get
Yeah.
a call on pigs?
All the time. Yeah.
oh yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
We
Do
have
ya?
pigs, yeah. There isn't. I mean, I think the weirdest. So this is a cool thing. The weirdest animals we've ever had here. We had an alligator. It
Oh,
was
come on.
almost
That's somebody
5
that
feet
buys
long.
those small ones and they
Mhm.
get bigger and bigger.
Yeah, it was
Oh
about
my
5
God.
feet long, and it was scary. It was all part of the same drug raid. The ATF had called, and the guy says, "Hey, there's exotic pets. I just kind of want you on standby. We're going to raid this property. I just want you to know. Intel told us there's exotic pets." And I'm like, "Cool, yeah,
Oh,
I'll
yes.
take them, right?"
So I see
Yeah,
them.
yeah. No, it was actually really cool. So they had a lot of birds, like exotic birds. They had
Okay, that's okay.
macaws and parrots and stuff. They had a chimpanzee, which was
Aw.
like, and it was like.
How about
it
a
was-
turtle?
We've had turtles all the time.
Okay.
But it was like a
Turtles
human
are a lot
baby.
too.
Yeah,
So she had a
it's like
diaper
human
on, and when I
babies.
went, she like reached her arms
No,
up
what's
for
that?
me to pick up the
The
chimpanzee.
chimpanzee.
But then I kept thinking of the one that ripped the lady's face off, and I was like, oh God, don't rip her face off. I was
Don't-
like, hold her like this. I was
Please
like,
don't rip
do
my
anything.
face off.
But we found a rescue to take her, and
Wow.
the same with the alligator. We had to get a rescue because that thing was aggressive. And same thing. Like, they look kind of slow, but when that thing got up off of his belly and like started to run from us, I was like, oh God, like that's gonna kill
Yeah,
me.
and
They're
you-
very
you would
fast and very strong.
You'd be shocked if I told you, all the different types of animals I've seen. You wouldn't even believe that there's people living around us who have those. I mean, I've seen zebras. I've seen
Isn't that illegal?
exotic snakes and
Not in Ohio.
exotic snakes, poisonous snakes.
The tarantula we got was
I've
poisonous.
seen snakes
Oh.
that were 20 feet long. Here
Oh,
locally,
come on.
here
Yeah.
locally, yeah.
We had
Yeah.
someone dump 2 snakes at Rolling Ridge Elementary School in their parking in their playground, and the kids are. And one was a poisonous snake, and someone had dropped it off there. But
Okay, so that was an evil thing to do.
yeah, no, that
Obviously.
wasn't cool. Yeah, that was
Why
that
would you
could've hurt
drop a
child.
poisonous snake
Yeah.
off at an elementary school?
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't. Yeah, you'd be
Wow.
shocked to hear about the animals that people have who live around us.
Yeah, and some you have to have permits for. Some you are allowed to have legally.
And they don't have permits.
No, most of them
Most
don't.
don't.
No, most of them don't.
What about ferrets and things
Oh
like
yeah, rodents, pretty rodents. Yeah, we get a lot of those. Right now we have 2 rats, 4 guinea pigs. We still have about 30 of those bunnies.
Yeah.
Now, are they for adoption?
Oh yeah, everything here is for adoption.
And they're on
except
your
for
website?
Annie. Yeah, everybody's on the site. Now I will say I run all the social media, and I get very far behind. Don't email me because it takes me forever to get back to you. So text
No,
me.
you told me to text you. That's how I
Texting
got
me
you.
is so much better. It's literally right on my phone, and I can get you a lot faster. But yeah, and sometimes the website is behind, but just call, or if you're looking for something specific, if you just call in and say like, hey, I really want an, I don't know, like a lop-eared bunny, like then when we get one in, it's easier for us to just pull your app and call you and say, hey, we got a bunny, you want to come and meet
If you
it?
get a particular breed, you try and set them up then with a breed shelter?
No, I tried. Well, so I do use breed rescue. So we
Right.
did take 2 different times. We took 24 and then went back and took 27 chows from a house. Chows are a weird breed, not for everybody. So I did reach out to Breed Rescue with the chows. We rehomed about half of them. She took the other half. Most of the time, though, we're pretty self-sufficient. Right now, it seems like the Amish are doing a lot with Bernese Mountain Dogs, breeding them to poodles. They're having those Bernedoodles.
Yep.
So we're getting a lot of the Burmese Mountain Dogs dumped. And again, if I need breed rescue, I will reach out to them. The only thing I have, and I'll try to explain this, I'm all about analogies, but it just helps my brain figure things out. But so for me, if I'm going to fly somewhere, I would rather drive to Cleveland and fly straight to LA because I don't like to fly. So the idea of flying from Erie to North Carolina to Texas to LA sounds horrific because I'm going to do the up and down thing a bunch of times. I don't like it. So I feel like that with a foster home. So the breed rescues that take a dog, they come here, they're in prison. They're finally like, oh, this place is kind of cool. Like, okay, we get fed. The people are really nice to us. It's warm. And then if you go to a foster home, like I feel like the sooner they can settle and be home, the better. So I hate the idea of, okay, they leave us and then they go to another home and they're there for 3 months and the dog's like, this is amazing. So we say 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months. Somewhere in there.
We used a lot of that when we
somewhere in
started.
there the dog is home. Yeah,
Yes.
somewhere in there the dog is home. So let's say it goes to a foster home and it sits there for 3 months. The dog's like, this place is great. Like, these people love me. I get to go out every day. We do these fun things, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, nope, got to do it all over again. To me, that stress level is not worth it for the dog. I would rather have it stay here in prison and then matriculate to its new home and be there and stay there. So it depends. Some of the breed rescues I do work with, the example with those chows, they're great and she does a great job with them. But if I can rehome them myself, that's normally the way we do it.
What else you want to tell me?
I-
What else do I need to know?
I
Do people come in to
appreciate
play with the dogs?
All the time. Yeah, we have volunteers that want to come in and just take dogs for walks, play with dogs, throw balls for them, do different things. I have one
Where?
guy-
Outside? Inside?
Oh yeah, so we're insured to the railroad tracks that way and to the corner that way, both
Fenced in?
sides of the street.
No.
Just insured that you can take the dog for a walk. We do have a huge fenced-in play yard. Again, volunteers, same as fosters, blessing and curse, kind of, I'm like always a little bit sketchy, which who does it. But once you earn my trust, which I have trust issues anyway, but once you get there, I'll let you do a lot.
She let us come in here. She must have trusted us. At least that far.
I like
Okay.
it. Yeah. And then we have kids that come in and read to the cats. It's tough, and when you go through the dog rooms, you'll see it's loud. So it's tough. When kids will come in and read to the cats. Anything that stimulates the animals. To me, we have a whole shift of what's called enrichment. Where if you're on enrichment that day, your job is to. Alicia is one of my favorite for enrichment. She'll bring her iPad and put like a mouse, and a bunch of the cats will like try to get the mouse on her iPad. She's all about finding things. They did a lick mat with paintings, and they had the dogs do their own paintings. Like she's all about. She's one of my favorites for enrichment. We'll take dogs to the public dock, and I'll let the girls take them one at a time and go for walks just to get their minds cleared because this is like I said, it's a crappy environment, you know.
Do you take dogs to fairs and
Everywhere.
stuff like that?
Remember how I said I
Yeah.
go places where I don't even know that we belong. I'm like,
Right.
what are we doing here? But at the same time, it gets the dogs out. It's stimulating. The nursing home thing, I have a thing for seniors. So the nursing home thing, I like children. I just am not I don't have that chip in me. I do have a daughter, so she probably gets mad when she hears me say that. But I've never been bring me babies. Like he has 2 beautiful babies, and I love when they come visit. But then I like when they go home. I don't have that. So we do school visits. I do a lot of those, and those are fun for the animals.
Do you do them, or do you have a group that does?
I used to love doing them, but now my time is so limited. I try to do one a week just to keep me it's why I started this place, and then all of a sudden I started getting pulled in 50 directions, and I know you guys can relate. I'm not getting younger, and so I'm in bed earlier. I'm tired, so I'm not able to do I used to be conquer the world, Supergirl, and now I'm kind of the world can wait, So I don't do as much as I'd like to get out there, but I have great staff members that do it for me.
My favorite place to go is in nursing homes
Love
because
it.
the poor souls
Love
have
it.
left their dogs
So
behind.
forgotten, yeah.
And all it takes, I go to any of the ones in Meadville, and I go in with the idea I'm going to be here 45 minutes, and
yeah,
honest to
exactly,
God,
dogs.
I'm leaving. And I'm
4
there
hours later,
I might be there from
Yeah.
6 to 8:15. They say,
Oh my gosh.
look at the clock for God's sakes.
Yeah.
It's because everybody wants to tell me about their dog.
Yeah.
The dog they left behind. They want to see my dog. They say watched you on television, this, that, and everything
Yeah.
else. It's
And
just
see,
constant.
those stories need to be told.
Oh, and they
Absolutely.
love the dog.
They need to
Absolutely.
be told.
I mean, Penny, one of our big cruelty cases, ambulance driver called. He said, hey, we just took this lady out. It's awful. The house is terrible. The dogs are everywhere, blah, blah, blah. Before we could go in, Eric and I went to St. Vincent's and met Penny. And to this day, I love her. And she said, well, I only have 2 dogs. And we're like, well, we think you might have more. No, I only have 2, you know. We took 17
Yeah, she had like
out of
20.
her house.
Yeah.
And she, like, you know, had no idea. And she's a senior, she's incapacitated. Now she lives in one of the nursing homes. And it broke my heart because she's literally a forgotten soul. Like, nobody, no family, no nothing. All she had were those dogs. Did she mean to treat them poorly? No. I mean, she was obviously out of her mind. And to this day, I visit her 2 or 3 times a month. I try to go first thing in the morning before my day starts. Just the other day, she wanted an Egg McMuffin and some seedless oranges. So, you know, like, I do whatever I can for her, and I try to bring a dog when I can. Because to me, that just breaks my heart. God forbid, don't let me end up that way, Duckett. Somebody said there's insurance you can get, so like you can.
A lot of the people that are in my group with the therapy dogs, they claim my biggest problem is I don't say no. So if someone calls and says, well, can you do this? Or could we get a therapy dog? Or how often can you come? And oh my God, it's constant. Then I have to beg people to make sure they go and say, come on, just do me this favor. Just go there just twice a month. That's no big thing.
Yeah.
And it's so
That's
good
our
for
biggest
you.
problem.
Have you found, and it is, I mean, gosh, that's pretty much all I do in my spare time is volunteer
awesome.
for veterans and
Yeah, we have a veteran program.
stuff like that. Then we have to talk more.
Yeah. 2
But
actually.
have you found that, well, just the way you're talking, you can reach a level of burnout, but then do you have, and we had talked about this, do you have a second or third in command? You said you've got a couple people that you think putting them together would be you.
Mm-hmm.
But do you have any idea of what to put in place in the next 5 years? Well, because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Do you have any idea in your head? Because it is so hard for you personally, for your own animals, or for this entire organization, because you have a very large reach.
Yeah.
And if you were gone, that would shrivel. Because
I talk about running away now all the time.
I mean,
The three of us could run away together just for a while.
It's
no cell
heartbreaking.
service, a cabin in the woods with no cell service.
And that sounds
GPS
awesome.
can't find us.
Yep.
Girls,
Go right
let's
down
do
to
it.
Cook's Forest. Let's
I'm
go.
in.
Yeah.
I'm in, girls. I will drive.
We'll do a cabin weekend.
I will pick you ladies up. No, so a couple things.
Can I take my dog along?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So a couple of things though to touch on. I do have a program for situations where, hey, you know what? If something happens to me, this is what I want done with my dogs. Because a lot of people like, I don't trust my family. So I do have a program where I will help you come up with a plan for if something were to happen, what's going to happen.
We
with
were
your
just
pets.
talking about that on
Yep,
the way up
I've
here.
got that,
Okay,
and I had
awesome.
it actually approved by my attorney, so I have all that paperwork, and I have probably 25 people or so that have entrusted me with the welfare of their pets upon their demise. Even for my own pets, I have that plan. And then with the, what was the other second part? Oh, for me, if I die. Oh, okay. So when I die, because it's not an if, when I die, there are a couple girls, and it's funny because the 2 girls that are like my left and right hand that work with me every day, one jumping a fence trying to catch a chicken a month ago, tore her ACL and has been out for a month and has to have surgery. The other, who again is like just good for my soul human being, she was out in the front on Monday, a week ago today, and a dog lunged up to try to bite her. She stepped back, fell, cracked her wrist literally in half. She's having surgery tomorrow. So I am learning what would happen if the 2 of them
Right.
are gone, and it's awful. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. The rest of the staff's fantastic. They're all picking up slack. But yeah, what will I do? Part of me feels like, well, I'll be dead, so I don't really care. But at the same time, yes, would I want this place to go down in flames? No. I do have a plan for 3 months, that financially the place will be fine for 3 months while they figure it out. But I'm hoping, somebody, I think these guys can do it. I think they'll step up and
Well, and you never know who's gonna be in front of you on your path today or
Exactly,
tomorrow.
yeah.
Someone that might be watching this show
Season,
right
reason,
now.
lifetime. I believe in that
Yes.
so much. You have no
Yes.
idea. And so, yeah, maybe this is the catalyst that will
It
get
might,
somebody
you
to
never
go.
know.
But it's got to be like somebody like me. So, if
Yes.
you
What
know
we're gonna-
anybody, just let me know.
What we're going to do is we've got to close this segment.
Yes.
But what we want to do then is the cameraman's going to walk around and take some
Absolutely.
pictures.
That sounds great. I'll show you guys around.